What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, that's right, it's that time again. We're going to talk about Star Trek Prodigy, specifically the brand new episode. You don't want to miss it. It starts right now. So this was a fun one. I missed last week's. I apologize. If you saw my Andor review, then you know I had walking pneumonia for the last 2 weeks, which is why we haven't done reviews, but I'm getting back in the swing of things, so here we go. So the episode starts with specifically a distress signal. We pick up pretty much where we left off last episode, which is there's a distress signal, they arrive, and it's sort of a utopian style planet. It's all very nice and lush and beautiful, except something is happening in the native culture. Something is destroying us and killing the planet. So when they arrive, they get a beacon and they hear, they discover some people who say they are with Starfleet. That's right. It's an unusual occurrence, and the Starfleet is obviously not who they are. But one of them calls himself Sulu, another one calls himself Kirk, or James T rather, and it's you find out that a long time ago, the Enterprise came by an old ship rather, and there was a shuttle that crashed there, and an officer who taught the locals within reason of not. He explained the Prime Directive and everything else, but ultimately he said one day Starfleet would return to rescue them. Now, he was talking specifically about Starfleet, and they're all dressed in sort of the uniforms they're wearing, while they're indigenous to the locals, look a lot like the uniforms from Strange New Worlds, which I thought was really cool. So that's a nice little, I believe, a nice little in-continuity sort of way of eating its own tail. And so the away team goes down, Janeway stays, Rock stays also because Rock's taking care of Murph. Something's going on with Murph, and we don't really know what that is. Murph seems to be kind of getting goopier, less gelatinous form-fitting and more like sticky and goopy, and it's really odd. No one knows what's going on. Ooh. So then, as they're down, they find out that they're supposed to stay away from the gallows. And the gallows is this place deep in the rough areas where they need to stay away from, because the ensign who helped them, ensign is, and everything's misnamed. It's brilliant. And so what ends up the short version is they have to get one of the locals is injured at the gallows because they feel like they have to brave things and take on the unknown, because that's the mandate of Starfleet. And so the whole time Del is very much like, are we just as bad as these people? And that's really the through line of the entire episode. The entire episode is, are they on the the protostar faking the same way these people are faking? And you get to the point where you're like, no, they're not faking, they're real. So how do we solve this problem? Because what happens is you get some folks who are stuck in the gallows, and they have to rescue them, but the ship has to get closer. So what happens? Dale brings up the folks here who followed the lessons and learned the logs and everything, and Janeway gives them the Constitution class bridge through hollow controls, and it translates the controls correctly. And these people, from having watched the logs and having seen everything from before, they're ready, and they fly it, and they do amazing. And what you get is the understanding that these people are not faking. They're doing the best they can within the structures of this life that they want. And it's a lesson Nell has to learn that says, you know what? And it ends this way, which says we have to go forward, and if we do intend, we have to represent Starfleet as best we can until we can join. But then ultimately, if we do decide that we 100% we want to join, we want to be with Starfleet, then they have to find a way to get rid of the protostar. There's a slight a slight back where we go to Janeway, the actual Admiral Janeway, Vice Admiral Janeway, and aboard her ship, and they have the rescued alien who is starting to remember things, was a little traumatized by everything, and they try to they decide that this is no longer a rescue it's a manhunt, and they are going to find the terrible, horrible people who stole the protostar, and who knows what happened. She's looking for Chakotay. That's who she's looking for. So we still have no idea what's happened to Chakotay fully. And that story, I believe, we're going to eventually learn and see. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see what they have to say. So, yeah, man, there you go. Now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. What's the know-it-all index for this episode? I'm gonna give this episode an 8.5. I thought it was a good episode. 8.5. It's a solid episode. I love the lessons that we're learning. I love the duality. It's very Star Trek, which is, hey, we're dealing with something, and here's how these people are dealing with it slightly differently, but it's essentially the same idea. And I really like what they did and how they're moving in the direction that they're moving in. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what ultimately comes from it. I really want to see the Chakotay story. I want to see what happens to him, and I want to see what they come up with. But yeah, man, comment below. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode and see kind of what your take is on the whole thing. I know we're building to something. These episodes don't feel lackluster to me. They don't feel unimportant to me, and I think that's important. So, all right, let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.